Hello, and welcome back to the My First Marathon podcast, where usually we're interviewing runners in all stages of their running careers about their first marathon experiences. But today we're back with another Wednesday mini episode. All right, well, I hope you've been enjoying the mini episodes the last couple of weeks, walking you through nailing weeks 1 through 15 of training. Last week actually wrapped our little mini series going over some of the topics that we covered in the My First Marathon Buddy course, which is part of the My First Marathon Buddy community. Before we jump into the episode, I want to remind you that the community is free to join, and it's full of marathoners that are ready to welcome you and support you already. So if you're running your first marathon or you recently ran a first marathon, please join. If you choose to upgrade your membership, you will also get access to the Buddy course, which walks you in depth through the content from the last 2 weeks of mini episodes, and also just gives you an alternative to 1v1 coaching if that's not something that's accessible for you right now. The goal is to make the first marathon feel more manageable and less alone. So join at school.com/myfirstmarathon. That's SKOOL.com/myfirstmarathon. All right, that out of the way, let's talk about today's topic. We are going to be talking about overall how the marathon changes you in a few different ways. So without further ado, let's jump right in. All right, so if you've ran a marathon before, this experience might be slightly different than yours, but I can say from all of the stories that we've had on the show that most of the first marathoners that we chat with are coming out the other end of their first marathon feeling like a different person. So why is that? Our motto on the show is anyone can run a marathon. We talk about that a lot, but what we don't talk about enough is the second part of that statement, which is anyone can run a marathon with enough training and the right resources. When we say that anyone can run a marathon, what we really mean is that anyone can commit to doing something extremely hard and uncomfortable. Anyone can show up for themselves day over day and do something just for them. If you're willing to put in the work, the results will come. But I do think that doing something as extreme as running a marathon does change you. So how does it change you? When you commit to doing something hard over a long period of time, whether you like it or not, you teach yourself discipline. You teach yourself that when you come up against an obstacle, it's not a roadblock. It's just a bump in your way that you need to figure out how to get over. You learn to make adjustments in the face of adversity. You learn how to fail and use failure as a tool. You learn that you're not invincible or the exception to the rule. You learn that you are more powerful than you expect. So when you commit to months of this, of showing up for yourself, you slowly build this mindset of I can do anything. And after you cross the finish line of your first marathon, a lot of the day-to-day tasks and responsibilities will suddenly feel like much smaller tasks. It'll feel like everything is a little bit easier to tackle because you adopt this mindset of I can do it because I did this. I ran a marathon, and it puts like everything else into perspective. I don't talk a lot about my day job on here, but I am a sales coach, so I get to do a lot of coaching in my day-to-day. And I know for me, running a marathon has also really helped with my job. I worked in a really high-stress environment at the time that I ran my first marathon, and I often found myself coming home from a stressful day to try and relax and not have a way to burn off the stress. I would constantly be thinking about my day because for 8 hours a day, my life revolved around work and nothing else. Running a marathon taught me that I can accomplish something that's not tied to any financial gain or necessity for me. There was a lot of power in that, and that's something that I talk a lot to the people who are on my team now. I talk to them about having something outside of work that they can put their time into, that they can feel like they accomplish, because when we don't do that, especially when we're in some sort of sales role or some sort of like competitive role where you're being measured based on the work that you put in, when you have something outside of that that you identify with, your work doesn't become your entire identity and you can separate yourself from the problems at the end of the day. There's also the obvious benefits of running a marathon, training after work, training before work. It's something that can help you show up differently in your regular day-to-day life, which includes like showing up better for your coworkers, showing up better for your family, showing up better for your kids, whatever it might be. So there's a lot of benefit in sticking with it. All of this is to say, whether you're training for your first marathon now or you have already ran your first and can attest to this, you become a different person when you run a marathon. Maybe not all at once, but you'll start to notice in how you show up for your loved ones, how you tackle a problem at work, how you prioritize yourself and your health more, etc. You start to realize that it's not selfish to do something for yourself that makes you show up better for the people around you. So if you're in the thick of it this week, you're feeling like you're behind or you're not doing enough or you're doing too much, just know that you're exactly where you need to be. I am so proud of you. That's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.